Urgent. The Ukrainian armed forces have struck hard. The Russians have found themselves in a fiery cauldron. Drones have destroyed Putin's lifeline. Shock on the front line. The enemy is retreating. A powerful counterattack by our forces. Videos of the titanic battles have already gone viral online. This is just the beginning. The mega weapon is coming into play. Prime targets of the Russian army are in the crosshairs. The strike will happen any day now. All this and more in our episode Hellpoint, a real catastrophe in Russia. The Ukrainian armed forces have halted the Druzhba oil pipeline. The end is coming for Russia. Ukrainian drones have stirred up total chaos. The occupiers are losing it. And in Putin's camp, they're calling it a fiasco. Ours hit them right where it hurts. Everything is burning. The enemy was not prepared for this. Ukraine has put on a masterclass. After these strikes, the Kremlin was left speechless. You'll hear what happened in just a moment.
It looks like it's really the end for Druzhba. The Ukrainian armed forces have attacked the infamous oil pipeline again. This time, the strike targeted the Unecha oil pumping station in the Bryansk region. This was reported by the commander of the Ukrainian Armed Forces drone systems.
The sting for the worms was delivered by the birds of the 14th Regiment of the Unmanned Systems Forces. The journey of the SBS birds through the worm-infested oil refinery continues. SBS reconnaissance in progress.
To back up his words, Madyar published a video of a massive fire at a key junction of the Druzhba oil pipeline network. As a result, the transfer of oil from Russia to Hungary and Slovakia has been halted for an indefinite period. Things aren't going any better for the occupiers when it comes to petroleum products inside Russia itself. For example, in Novoshakhtinsk, Rostov region, the oil refinery that was attacked a few days ago is still burning. The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine has already confirmed the strike on the refinery, which is considered one of the largest fuel suppliers in southern Russia. As a result of the drone raid, they have been unable to extinguish the refinery for 3 days now. And the next piece of news from across the border is definitely a contender for the Darwin Award for a senseless death. The day before, Ukrainian naval drones from the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine visited the Novorossiysk Bay. One of them managed to break through the occupiers' defenses, but was ultimately suppressed by electronic warfare and sank. After that, the Russian soldiers couldn't come up with anything better than to send 5 of their elite divers to the bottom to retrieve the Ukrainian UAV. But here's the catch. During the operation, the drone detonated, instantly wiping out 5 elite Russian divers. In addition, the armed forces of Ukraine also attacked the supply lines of Russian troops in Crimea and southern Russia. Ukrainian forces struck a fuel train near Jankoy, depriving the southern group of occupying troops of part of their supplies.
And here our highway is on fire. They've hit it with a smoke screen. It's all burning. In short.
And it will only get worse, military analysts assure. Because the armed forces of Ukraine have caught up with Russia in the production rate of Ukrainian equivalents of the Shahed drones. We're talking about the long-range strike drone FP1, which was first unveiled in May 2025. It has a flight range of over 1,000 kilometers, a relatively low cost of about $55,000 per unit, and is produced at a rate of around 100 UAVs per day. However, despite the lack of success on the front lines and the ongoing explosions in the occupied regions and in Russia itself, Putin and his generals have not given up hope of seizing at least some new territories of Ukraine. The enemy, despite suffering heavy losses, is still advancing near Torske, Filia, Zaporizhzhye, Malivka and Vilne Pol.
At the front, the Russians continue to attack, but their enthusiasm is no longer the same. Their offensive has no prospects, no purpose. And accordingly, the field commanders down there on the ground, who are directly present at the scene, simply don't have the ability to launch proper attacks. Sometimes they just fake these attacks, other times they send their mobilized troops to the slaughter, but the result is always the same.
Meanwhile, the occupiers are already close to being encircled in the Pokrovsk-Dobropilia direction, experts say. Just a little more, and the Russian army will end up in a cauldron from which it won't be easy to escape.
Near Pokrovsk, things are really bad for them, just like near Dobropilia. Right now, some of the Russians there are surrounded, partially encircled, and some are in a very disadvantageous position. And they're getting pounded so hard, as they say, the woods are shaking.
To confirm these words, the main intelligence directorate has released fresh footage from Donetsk region, where our defenders stopped the enemy's advance and eliminated more than 90 occupiers. A significant number of Russians were taken prisoner. By the way, our advanced robotic continuous fire machines also significantly took part in effectively repelling the relentless enemy attacks, once again definitively proving themselves to be very effective and highly valuable on the challenging battlefield.
Finally, a turning point in the war. The US is arming Ukraine to the teeth with thousands of American missiles, and this could lead to a possible defeat for Russia. Victory has never been this close before. Washington strikes directly at Putin's military lifeline. This weapon destroys everything in its path, making the ATAC-MS look like they're just taking a break beside it. A brutal showdown is about to begin. The prime targets that the Ukrainian armed forces are hitting have already been identified. They've been named for the first time. Don't miss it. More on these coming up.
An American greeting for Ukraine's Independence Day. Following Tight Kellogg, American cruise missiles are heading to Ukraine.
It is an honor for me to present you with this award. Thank you.
According to the Wall Street Journal, the Donald Trump administration has approved the sale to Ukraine of more than 3,000 extended-range attack munition air-to-ground missiles.
It should be noted that neither the Pentagon nor the White House has officially confirmed the information about the sale of air-to-ground missiles to Ukraine, which, according to media reports, are supposed to be delivered to the Ukrainian side within the next 6 weeks. Therefore, we can say that this is a so-called controlled information leak. In other words, this is when the Russian Federation signals the plans of the White House administration.
A few days earlier, Russian terrorists launched a missile strike on a factory belonging to an American company in western Ukraine. Essentially, Putin nullified Trump's words that the presence of American business on Ukrainian territory is in itself a guarantee of security.
What did you say to Vladimir Putin regarding yesterday's strike on the American factory in Ukraine?
I told him that I am not happy about it. I'm not happy about anything that's happening in this war.
After some time, the President of the United States made an important statement. Donald Trump admitted that Ukraine cannot win the war by only defending itself.
It's very difficult, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking the aggressor country. It's like a great sports team with a fantastic defense not being allowed to play offense. There's no chance of winning. It's the same with Ukraine and Russia. The dishonest and very incompetent Joe Biden didn't allow Ukraine to strike back, only to defend itself. And what came of that?
According to experts, the supply of long-range air-launched missiles is Trump's logical response to the demonstrated unreliability of the Russian dictator.
The so-called all'offerte, meaning a retaliatory strike from the United States. Moreover, I do not rule out that together and in parallel with the possible supply of strike weapons, permission will also be granted to carry out a retaliatory strike on the territory of the Russian Federation.
The key aspect in the supply of American air-to-surface missiles, which, as reported, have been paid for by Ukraine's European allies, is their large quantity, specifically 3,350 missiles, and their strike range of up to 450 kilometers.
450 kilometers covers virtually the entire rear infrastructure of the Russian occupation army directly on the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. Additionally, if permission is granted to use these strike assets on the territory of the Russian Federation, this range covers all of the Russian army's rear logistics and, accordingly, legitimate military targets on Russian territory. This is significant. It exceeds the technical and tactical specifications of the American ATACMS by almost a third.
The combination of the number and range of ARAM missiles suggests that, unlike the scarce Storm Shadow and ATACMS, these missiles can be used much more frequently, including for targeted strikes against enemy fighters, bombers, and the launchers of the occupying army.
First and foremost, it appears that air bases will be the primary focus of increased attention from Ukraine's defense forces. Additionally, the launch points, specifically the sites from which UAVs as well as cruise and ballistic missiles are launched on the territory of the Russian Federation, will also be targeted.
The situation in Donbass is hotter now than ever before. Our cannons are literally bursting from the constant salvos. The enemy is taking hit after hit. These scenes of epic failure are something the Russians prefer to hide. Artillery is obliterating entire positions of the Russian army. Putin's generals are shouting and ordering retaliatory strikes. What is happening right now in the thick of the front line? These are not scenes for the faint of heart. Coming up next,
The sky is painted red by the sunrise and at the same time by the burning earth after the strikes.
Ready? Made it in time.
The command to battle rings out even before breakfast. The Russians are launching another assault.
Load! Ears, for example, are important.
They simply do not have sufficient time to fire everything they had meticulously planned before they immediately hear the resounding return fire. That's it, let's get out of here.
Run, run, run now!
This is called counter-battery warfare. Russian shells are exploding nearby.
We fired our weapons and they fired back at us. It's a war, that's all there is to it.
We need to wait it out in the dugout for a while. And now, as if things have quieted down, we can try to have breakfast. It's better to do the chopping in the dugout, and it's also better to put the pan for the shakshuka under the camouflage net.
Maybe after the White House, the meeting, or maybe after Alaska, has anything changed here for you? Maybe it's gotten quieter?
Nothing has changed for us.
Absolutely nothing has happened. We were shooting before the White House, we were shooting after the White House, and that's it.
While the sky is clear of FPVs, the artillerymen quickly finish eating and go to readjust the howitzer.
Here, take a look. You can see it here now, see? There is this space. The buoy pops up.
This is the M119 howitzer, a lightweight mobile American gun, caliber 105 millimeters. The artillerymen say it's more accurate than any Soviet system.
This gun has seen action at the famous Cauldron. Well, I think you can tell it's taken a few hits. There's a mark here, a bit of shrapnel there and here. But that doesn't stop it from doing its job.
And who were you in civilian life?
How should I put it? I used to make chocolate at a factory.
Serhiy is the gunner, Mykola is the loader and a member of the crew.
It's tense, I have to say.
How often do they actually launch their aggressive assaults here now, and how frequently do you have to diligently stop them?
Well, quite often. Just recently they broke through about 10 kilometers from us.
Don't go.
On their section of the front, the enemy is constantly trying to advance, but not to storm with vehicles. Our paratroopers have already taught the Russians a lesson here. They don't try to push through anymore. Now they move in small groups, gather, infiltrate the rear villages, and end up either killed or captured. Just recently, the 82nd Brigade was clearing out Petrivka and took some prisoners.
One of them, an orc, has 6 children, but, well, as we understood, he didn't really have enough money to support his family. So they had a sort of family meeting with his wife, and they realized that maybe he should go to war, lose an arm or a leg, or die, and then it would be easier for their family. Unfortunately, he didn't die, so she won't get the white ladder, or however many millions.
1, 2, 3.
Now on the screen you see a QR code, by scanning which you can support the 82nd Bukovina Air Assault Brigade. Because the enemy is pressing here and infiltrating the rear villages, even they, the artillerymen, just like the mortar crews and drone pilots, must always be ready to become infantry and engage in a firefight.
Every artilleryman of the 82nd Air Assault Brigade always undergoes physical training. They have to be strong and powerful.
And good-looking.
And good-looking, absolutely. They don't take unattractive people into the air assault forces. Damn, you're so hairy.
The previous haircut for loader Mykola was also done by Pavlo, the gun commander. While the sky is clear and there are no assaults, you can tidy yourself up. However, the quiet didn't last long. The buzzing of FPV drones is getting too loud and too close. The enemy rarely lets you stick your head out of the dugouts here. There are 2 enemy attack drones in the sky at once.
So for now, we'll just wait it out. I think you can hear it yourself already, that high-pitched sound.
And now, KB bombs are falling thick and fast against the backdrop of sunflower fields. This year's harvest will remain uncollected. Along with airstrikes, the Russian army is also using artillery and attack drones.
We hit them, they hit us. That's absolutely it. Yeah, they are definitely looking for us over there, quite intently, and they seem to be very focused. Well, that happens often. Because it's either we get them or they get us, that's all. Whoever finds the other first wins. That's it. For now, they haven't found us.
Maria Malevska, Oleksandr Brinza, Ihor Serebrian, Fakti, ICTV, United News.
Fierce frontline hell broke out simultaneously on several sections of the front. The Russian army is swarming toward Pokrovsk, but continues to receive a series of powerful blows from the Ukrainian armed forces. It's hard to believe the occupiers choked on Ukrainian land near Kupiansk. Russian generals were definitely not prepared for this. The epic failure was caught on camera. Our forces are crushing the enemy in no time and preparing for a massive strike. What it will target, don't miss.
voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
What's next?
Russia has gathered a horde near Pokrovsk large enough to capture an average European country, but they have failed to achieve any results. Putin's plans for Ukraine's Independence Day are falling apart at the seams. The armed forces of Ukraine launched an attack in the Sumy region and pushed the occupiers out of yet another settlement, as well as the massive destruction of a Russian column in the Donetsk region. We've gathered the most important frontline news from the past 24 hours for you. The occupiers decided to create hell on earth for our defenders holding the approaches to Pokrovsk, according to the Dnipro Operational Strategic Group of Troops. There, the Russians have concentrated a number of troops that is twice the pre-war population of Pokrovsk itself, which allows the Russian army to assault Ukrainian positions almost around the clock.
The first ambitious goal is to gain control over the outskirts of Pokrovsk in order to have control over Pokrovsk itself. The second is a push towards the Dnipropetrovsk region. And of course, in the Lyman area, primarily, it's a push towards the Serbianske forestry. Somewhere over there, they have ambitions to reach the Sloviansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration, but let's just say, no one can forbid them from dreaming.
The Russian plan to give a bunker-style gift for Ukraine's Independence Day in this region also ended in failure. According to military sources, the recent intensified assaults toward Kupiansk were specifically linked to this date. But even here, aside from an increased number of occupier casualties, it didn't really lead to anything significant.
The Russian occupiers have clearly set the objective for their troops to capture the city of Kupiansk. By Independence Day, this had two meanings. The first meaning is purely political, since Kupiansk is one of the symbols of the strength of the Ukrainian army, because it was deoccupied in 2022. And now for the enemy, it was important to capture it politically by Independence Day. And of course, it's also a logistical hub. Kupiansk is currently under the blue and yellow flag. So one way or another, we managed to hold out, and the enemy was unable to carry out their intentions on our land.
Another hotspot on the map remains Chasiv Yar. The enemy managed to seize part of the settlement but was stopped in the middle of the residential area. As a result, the goal for which the city was stormed for over a year has not been achieved.
Because their control over Chasiv Yar is incomplete. Even though Putin himself pointed this out during his meeting with Lukashenko, under the current circumstances, they cannot take advantage of it. The same story applies to their incomplete control over the city of Toretsk, where they have, without a doubt, taken its nighttime part. But since they can't actually get through the city and move further, once again, for now, there's no benefit from that. That's why now they're dreaming of advancing on Kostiantynivka from the Pokrovsk direction.
Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces in Donetsk region are not only managing to repel attacks, but also delivering very impressive strikes. For example, the fighters of the Phoenix unit reported that the day before, they destroyed a column of Russians, along with at least half a dozen Russian soldiers. The footage shows several assault troops on motorcycles trying to break through closer to Ukrainian positions. So one after another, at least half a dozen occupiers were methodically sent to Kobzon's concert. At the same time, they managed to take out 4 motorcycles and a self-propelled howitzer MSTS. Meanwhile, in the Sumy region, the Ukrainian armed forces broke out of a defensive stance and moved forward. Deep state analysts report that the defense forces have driven the occupiers out of yet another settlement. This refers to the village of Andriivka in the Sumy region. These changes can already be seen on the online map of combat operations.
A smart drone with a machine gun. The main intelligence directorate is taking the game to a new level. The enemy has never seen a weapon like this before. Our fierce revenge is already one step away from the front line. Relentless fire, precise reconnaissance, and lightning-fast logistics. The enemy army is starting to tremble. And this is just the beginning. Ukrainian defenders hint that the most interesting surprises for the occupiers await them right on the battlefield. What is this mysterious beast like? Could it really be that as soon as tomorrow it will be able to incinerate entire companies of Putin's troops? We will tell you and show you much more next time.
Precision fire from a machine gun, but it's not a human shooting, it's a robot. This is the new reconnaissance and strike system, the Droid TW12.7. Accuracy is being tested during trials at the training ground.
Well, as we can see, the test was carried out perfectly. There was no need for any further aiming, because the very first burst took out our Kherson friend.
This system was created to support infantry on the battlefield and to conduct reconnaissance. What tasks was this drone designed for?
Primarily for providing fire support to units and for reconnaissance missions. That is, we can go out, scout the area, and if necessary, strike. Currently, its range is 22 kilometers. The maximum speed of this model is 7 kilometers per hour. We're talking both about hard surfaces like asphalt and about this kind of field terrain, yes.
Control is carried out remotely via a tablet. And to hit the target, the system is equipped with a ballistic calculator.
We know that the target is, let's say, about 800 meters away from us. We set 800 meters in the ballistic calculator. The sight is programmatically shifted down on the tablet screen and we aim directly at the target.
The Browning M2 machine gun module operates in tandem with modern electronics.
Yes. On this combat module, we use artificial intelligence to recognize targets, personnel to aim at them. It helps us with this, and also to lock onto targets. That is, it is a good assistant in the hands of the operator of this product, so that it is more comfortable for him, firstly, to track targets, secondly, to move, and thirdly, to hit these targets.
Ugh! These targets can be both living and non-living.
I wish you a good vacation.
Such capabilities make the robotic ground complex universal, from reconnaissance and logistics to direct participation in combat.
We use drones for logistics and we use them as engineering robots. We have several combat drones with a slightly smaller caliber, a bit of a different configuration, but now we are trying to use them widely because, as I said, the war is moving forward and every 6 months something changes. And we always have to take that step, but a step ahead of the enemy, ahead of everyone.
The droid TW12.7 is an example of how technology becomes a weapon that saves the lives of Ukrainian soldiers and destroys the enemy. Yuri Lozenko, Volodymyr Kravchuk, Army TV for my Ukraine Marathon United News.
That's all from me for now. This was me, Darina Hutsakalo. We'll have even more scorching news from the front in our next episode. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon.